Good afternoon, everybody. It's a What's Up Monday, Master Motivation. My name is Jason Flame, and my guest today is the one and only Mr. Dane Evans. What's up, Dane?
What's up, Monday?
Here we go. Here we go. So, guys, real quick, if you're watching this, check that little scroll at the bottom because that'll come down in a minute. But do me a favor and like, share, comment throughout this video, and make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and check out our YouTube channel, which will have all of our past videos. So, this video is featuring Dane Evans, of course, and I'm super excited because there's a story that goes behind it. I want to share that story, why I invited Dane on the show today, and then we'll get to learn a little bit more about him. So Dane started in martial arts. It's been a couple years now, and he started with his grandkids, and we'll talk more about that. But what really inspired me and what really motivated me is several months ago, we were. I was kind of getting into my 75 hard, and I was not in my best shape. And so we started working out, and Dane started taking some private lessons from me, and he started just dropping serious weight. He was working really, really hard. He was just on a mission. And that mission is what has motivated me to get back in shape. I posted a picture yesterday, as a matter of fact, of 2015 and 2021. And everybody thinks, oh, it looks the same. It looks good. Yeah, but you didn't see the pictures that were in between where I look like crap. And prior to 2015, I was 242 pounds. And so this is something that Dane and I kind of share in common is this weight loss journey, but really a lifestyle change. So, Dane, super excited to have you and talk about your story. Let's start from the top. Let's start from the beginning, like back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Um, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you so much for inviting me. My background, I grew up in the Valley. I was born in Burbank. And when I was 5 years old, my folks divorced, and my mom and my brother and sister, we moved out to the very west end of the Valley. And my mom lived in that house up until about 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I grew up in that house as a young kid. Um, at a point in my life, my mom and I were in a car accident, and my mom should have died. And I was 6 years old, 6.5 years old, and she broke every bone from here to her pelvis, including her pelvis and her left leg. So she was in a body cast for 9 months. So we moved in with my aunt and uncle who didn't live far, and so I kind of grew up for a couple of years in their house, and then after that, my mom was a working mom, and we didn't do a lot of things as far as extracurricular activities like we do here in Moorpark with the
Yeah.
grandkids and my own kids and stuff, and I rode bicycles a lot, Schwinn, Stingray, and we'd go up near Castle Peak, and we had a little downhill track that we'd ride, and that's what I did when a kid. I rode bikes. I rode bikes a ton. My father was around, but he wasn't the greatest father. I know I've heard some of the other stories on this series here, and he he did teach me how to sail, and it's something that I have a passion for. I love. When I was 12 years old, I single-handed his 33-foot sailboat from Marina del Rey to Catalina, and so that's what we did on the weekends that he did take us. That wasn't all that often. One summer, we sailed halfway down the Baja coast. There were 6 of us on the boat, and it was it was a really awesome trip. Um, Being with whales that were bigger than our boat, literally coming up right next to the boat. It was insane, and basking sharks and stuff. So yeah, grew up in
So
the Valley.
So real quick, let me just check in. Because a lot of you said a lot of people talk about their dads and how their dad was a positive role model and their dad was someone they really looked up to. And you mentioned that your dad was not the greatest dad and maybe a little bit absent in your life. Who did you turn to as kind of a mentor or a father figure that kind of kept you, because I believe that you have a good moral compass, and I believe you're a hardworking guy. And I mean, there's so much that we can learn from our moms, but there's so much that we need from that male role model. So how did that change your life?
Um, it changed it just in the fact that my father wasn't around that much, and he wasn't, a great role model. I mean, he had good morals and stuff, and when we were with him, he taught us that. But I had other people, my brother and a couple of family friends that were more father figures in my life. When I was 18, I went to work for the guy next door to my mom's house, and he was a huge, huge role model. He taught me things that I carry with me today. Um, we worked in finish carpentry, and I, we went to work. I worked for him for quite a few years, but he taught me the dime never holds up the dollar, and you're the dime and I'm the dollar. So don't ever walk anywhere without something in your hands. Don't walk somewhere without a purpose. We were hanging doors in apartment buildings. So never went anywhere without something in my hands. That trip had to count for something. And he taught me that efficiency and not wasting movement and stuff. And while he was an alcoholic, and I kind of fell into his trap a little bit, and it kind of became, because we'd go to the bar after work and he'd play pool and drink beer and stuff, and I kind of started doing that. I was married to my first wife at the time, and I knew that started affecting my life, so I I quit the job. That was the best way to get out of it, and I quit drinking for probably 6 or 7 years, and I went to work for a guy, Chuck, at a plumbing supply place in Westlake, and he had just recently, when I went to work for him, he had just recently had a sister killed by a drunk driver, so he wasn't drinking. So him and I had a lot in common, and we hung out a lot. We bought a bass boat together and started fishing and stuff, and that instance in my life kind of gave me direction as to where I'm at now. I don't drink a whole lot. If I drink 2 or 3 times a year, that was a big year. And it's probably been 3 years actually since I've had a drink. Um, you know, I, I didn't go to Alcoholics Anonymous or anything, and I so respect. I have a lot of friends who are in the Alcoholics Anonymous program and clean and sober for a lot of years. You interviewed what's that gal's name who just
Hillary.
recently got clean and sober?
Hillary Brooks.
Yep, Hillary. That's right. What an amazing story that was. So
Really
I
good
just
story.
knew on my own I had to get out of that because I was going down the wrong road, and I've always kind of had that ability to be able to, when I set my mind to something, I'm going to achieve it no matter what or
Yeah,
who
right.
stands in my way.
Right, 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 right. It's interesting, Dane. We're years apart in age, but when we get together and we talk and we're doing our workouts, we have our little chats, in between, during, and it's just so interesting that we have so much in common. Because I think that my dad was a builder and in construction. My dad is an alcoholic, recovering, hasn't had a drink in quite some time. And so it's like, some of these stories we kind of bounce off each other, and I so relate. You talk about the efficiency of being on the job. I can tell you that my dad would haul ass from 6 in the morning until 6 at night every single day. And it was like, you didn't like, lunch was like a quick bite and, right back to it. But, you talked about riding bikes as a kid and how that was kind of your pastime, and something that you enjoyed. Later in life, and I'm not sure when, so you can talk about this. You got involved in motorcycles and motorcycle racing. I know your boys rode, and I'm sure the grandkids have either started to learn or will learn at some point. But talk about motorcycle and doing some of your races.
I rode dirt bikes as a teenager, and that was where there was a father figure in my life. Robbie Robinson was a family friend, and he took me out riding a lot. And then as I got into my later teen years and girls came into the picture and cars and driving came into the picture, motorcycles went out the door. So um, Jack, our youngest, he came to us one year. He was in 8th grade, I think, and he said, "Hey, I want to get a dirt bike." And I said, "Yeah, okay, that sounds great. I used to ride bikes as a kid. Let's do it." But you have to perform to get that dirt bike. So here's my deal. You carry a 3.5 grade point average on the last 2 letter report cards of the year, because they do a satisfactory one, but then they do a letter report card. So on the
Right.
last 2, you carry a 3.5 and I'll buy you a dirt bike. And as time went on, we started seeing that he was doing it. So I started looking for a dirt bike and found a used bike in San Diego, and went and bought that and hid it at a friend's house until his graduation or his promotion from Mesa Verde. And we put the bike in the back of the truck, parked it in the parking lot right up front. And when they left the field and had to walk around the front into the multipurpose room to get their real certificate, he came around the corner and saw the dirt bike in the back of the truck and he screamed like a little girl. That was the beginning of it. A friend of his, Chris Orban, his father had an extra bike, so he'd let me ride it, and I ended up buying that from him. And then we just, would go riding El Mirage. We'd go riding here and there. And one day I'm out in the front yard cleaning motorcycles, getting them ready, for whatever the next ride was. And our neighbor pulls up the street with a bike in the back of the truck, and he stops and rolls down the window. And we hadn't really known each other that well at that point. He says, "Hey, man, you ride?" And I go, "Yeah, just cleaning the bikes up. We just got back from El Mirage." And he says, "Well, you ought to come out and check out a race." What? A race out in the desert? He goes, "I race in the desert. That's where I'm coming home from right now." And I said, "Okay." So we talked a little bit more about it. And he said, "Look, there was this race going on Thanksgiving weekend." He says, "Bring the wife, come on out. Don't bring a dirt bike. Just come on out and hang with us during the race. Go to the pits and the start line and all that stuff." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." So we went out and went to the start line with them. And there's 300, 400 motorcycles on this start line. And when in a desert race, the race starts with a banner coming up in a banner truck. They raise the banner, and then all the bikes have to go silent. It's a dead engine start. And this banner comes up, and it's up for a minimum of a minute. Sometimes it can be longer. And I'm standing there, and people are yelling, "Hey, have a good race," this and that. But the desert is dead silent. You can't hear anything but the wind. And then all of a sudden the banner drops and everybody starts their motorcycles and take off. I was hooked. Oh my God, I got to try this.
Right.
So when we decided to start racing, I went out and raced. I wouldn't let Jack race just yet. I wanted to make sure that he could read the desert because he's going to be out on his own, all alone, in the middle of the desert sometimes. And so I started racing in January, and I think we let Jack start racing in March that year. And that was what we call the beginning of the end. We started racing and we raced for about 12 years. And by the time we were done, the last 5 years of racing, we were racing 30 to 40 weekends a year in
Wow.
a bunch of different aspects or disciplines of racing.
Wow, that's really cool. A lot of weekends, a lot of time spent out, in the desert and on the bike and doing that whole deal. Well, let's back up a little bit and let's talk about your careers because this will tie in a minute here. And by the way, anybody watching, if you guys are here watching us live and you'd like to ask any questions, please post those in the comments. I'll be happy to read that and show that to Dane. But so talk about high school. Did you go on to college? And what was your first job or jobs that you remember? Aside from, I know a little bit finished carpentry, right, and got involved in the plumbing, but I know you were a UPS driver, and that leads into another story. And then, well, let's take it from there. So go back to those high school to college years.
High school, um, I in elementary school, I was like goody two shoes. I mean, I sang in the choir, I worked in the cafeteria, I was a play leader, a safety out on the playground. I did everything there was to do. I ran for student council. When I got to junior high in 7th grade, that's when things changed. Girls, friends, other things, and so when I got to high school, I was basically tired of learning the same old thing, and I never graduated. I took the GED and I got out, and then I went to work. Even prior to that, I've been working literally all my life. When I was 13, 14 years old, I got a job on the ice cream truck at Shoot Park on the weekends. And I would, work and make money. And then, I worked at gas stations and stuff during high school, and then finished carpentry, went to the plumbing industry and became the assistant manager of that plumbing supply warehouse in Westlake. But I kind of figured out that I wasn't going any higher than the assistant manager. I wasn't going to be the manager. They kind of weren't going to open any new stores. They had 3 stores. And so I decided I needed to, get a little bit better career. So I went to UPS, and I started part-time. So I was still working at the plumbing supply warehouse and working part-time with UPS, and then working with plumbers on the weekends. So I had 3 jobs at the time. I was still married to my first wife at that point, and we had 2 kids. And went to UPS, got hurt. 13 years, I hurt my back, and it was a pretty serious injury where it took a long time to heal, and they kept trying to push me back to work before my back would heal. And I'd go back for a month or 6 weeks, and then my back would flare up and I'd go out again. This went on for 2.5 years, and finally, at this point, I'm married to Debbie now. I've met Debbie and married to Debbie, and we sat down, and that's how I met Debbie, by the way, at UPS. I was her UPS man, and we sat down and
That was
talked.
a special delivery.
Yeah, it was. She signed for the package and kept it. And so we decided that I had to leave UPS and take a medical out. I still have my pension from there. I was vested, long enough tenure there. But the only way I was going to heal my back was to leave the company. And it took me 2.5 years to heal my back up after that. And then I just started working for other people. I've always had, from the time I was 18 years old, I've had a Class 1 license. So I went to work driving a truck and, finding jobs here and there. And now, while I was working during our racing years, I was working for a friend of mine that we race with, and he has a gunite company. And he said, look, I know you have a Class 1 license. I need a driver. Will you come to work for me? And I'm like, dude, you're in Norwalk. I got to drive to Norwalk every day to go to work. And he goes, there's the drawback for you, but come on, I'll make it worth your while. I'm like, all right. So I did. And I had started the business that I own now during that time, doing it, I would get off because I started at 5:30 in the morning in Norwalk. So I had to leave the house by 4:15-ish or so, drive to Norwalk, start my day. And then when I got home, sometimes I'd get off at 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, but I would get home in time and I would package up all my orders and ship them out. And so I kind of turned my living room into a shipping department storage area. And then when the 2008 housing crisis happened and business wasn't so good, the gunite, I told them, they had an employee there who worked on the trucks. He was a mechanic, but he also had a license and he drove when he was needed. And I told them, I said, look, my side business is doing so good that it actually costs me money to come to work. So because we're super slow, don't feel like you have to give me work, even though I'm a little bit more of a senior driver. I would rather see you give it to Joey. If you get in a bind and you need me, call me. Otherwise, give Joey the work. He's got 3 children. One of them had medical issues. He needed the money. He needed the job. So I just told him, feed Joey some work and just call me if you need me. I'll be there for you. And that's kind of when I went to work full time in this business that I do now, and just cultivated it and grew it. And and been my own boss ever since. Never looked back.
Yeah, being your own boss has its ups and downs too, of course, right?
Oh
What
yeah.
well, real quick, so Debbie asked a question. I wasn't sure what she was referring to. She said, "What which hat are you wearing?" Because is that in reference to you wear many hats in life or what?
Yeah, it's, I mean, because I've done so many different jobs and things in my life, and being the plumber, and then coaching in the youth football and this and that. It's the joke around our house is, like my sister-in-law would call, "Hey, put on your mechanic hat," because I grew up working on cars and I've been a gearhead all my life. Put on your mechanic hat. I need some brakes on my car. Can you do it? And yeah, okay. So that's uh that's what I do. I put on my hat, and so if I had to be, we had to work with the teachers at the schools here in town. One time I was driving a truck. I was driving cross country, and I found out that there was going to be a parent-teacher conference regarding one of our sons, and I wanted to be there, but I was in Florida, so I left Orlando, Florida at 7:30 on a Tuesday night, and I was in bed with Debbie at 6 a.m. Friday morning. I drove almost nonstop to
Wow.
get there, and we went to that meeting, and it was really good that I did because there's times when I had to be a little bit firmer with the teachers and insist on this or that or something because I knew what the school district would provide, but sometimes they don't have the budget for it, and you really have to be the squeaky wheel to get it. So I was a squeaky wheel sometimes. So there's my
There's your
bad
other hat.
parent hat. Yeah, good cop, bad cop. Well, there's my bad cop hat.
Well, hey, Mr. Birchfield just commented, and thanks for watching, Birch. Can't wait to have him on the show and talk about his story and his life. But he said, you do a lot for the youth in the city, and that kind of leads into doing some youth coaching, whether it be football or baseball or whatever your kids were playing at the time. Uh, and of course, now you're also an announcer at the high school. So talk about how you got started getting involved in youth sports and some of your memories from that.
We've always been involved in whatever the kids did, and we always wanted our kids to play sports. We encouraged it. Um, Jimmy and Jack both played baseball, both played football, and but everything was always in our household. Everything was always tied to schoolwork. You have a job, you have to perform in school if you want to play sports. And so, like in football, Jack started playing youth football, and he got onto a team with a man named Scott Reinhardt in this town, who was a long time youth football coach and Packer ball and stuff. So I asked him, "Can I help with the team in any way?" He goes, "Yeah, if you want to help coach, I need to get all these assistant coaches together." And ultimately, I ended up staying with him coaching for 7 years, even after Jack left youth football and went to the high school. One of those years, Jack's team went, and Ryan Birchfield, Dan's son, was the quarterback of that team. They went to the Super Bowl at their age level undefeated, and ran up against Clay Matthews Sr., former Cleveland Brown. He was coaching the team out of Agoura, and so we both met undefeated in the Super Bowl, and it was a great game. We lost in the Super Bowl, but those boys learned lessons that'll stay with them for life. I've known Dan since the plumbing days, way back when, 25, 8, 30 years almost. And now
Mm.
here we are together in the press box at the high school. So when I got done coaching youth football and baseball and all that stuff, I kind of took some time off, and I announced the motocross series during the summer as well. And one day I found out that the freshman team at the high school, nobody announces those games. They're on Thursdays. It's like they were, the little redheaded stepchild. No offense to any redheads out there, but and I'm like, "Hey, I'll come announce those games." I mean, I know the game. I was a coach, right? So, um, and we asked Rob Dearborn, the AD at the high school, and he said, "Yeah, if you want to come announce, that'd be great. They would love it." And I just started announcing the freshman games, and Dan and I started working together on. I would cover him when he couldn't make it because he's a baseball coach at the high school too. There's times he couldn't make those JV games on Friday, so ultimately, with his being in charge of the play productions, or one of the teachers in charge of play productions, and a baseball coach. He just said, "Look, will you take over the JV games, and then I'll do the varsity games?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So, and then the youth program, our son Jimmy's a coach in the youth program, and they came and asked, "Hey, would you want to come do some youth games?" Sure, why not? And then yeah. So one of the teams on there, I try to announce every football game when they're at home. Jimmy's team and Isaac's team try to announce their games, and ultimately they said, "Look, we never lose at home when you announce. The one time I couldn't make a game and I was out of town, they lost that game." They said, "You can't go on any more vacations. You have to announce our home games." And then the year they went to the Super Bowl, their semifinal game was in Oxnard, but they were the home team, so they were allowed to bring me in to announce that game as well. And that's the picture that you showed, where I'm with all those kids in the football uniform. That's where that picture came from. They won that game, and we went over to Toppers and celebrated, and they've always included me in their celebrations. And so that's how the announcing thing got started. And now I run the scoreboard and the varsity games while Dan's announcing, and I make the rosters and everything. And we just have a good time, man. We really do. I have a great time in the press box. I love giving back. I'm not going to be out on the field coaching anymore, but I guess that's my little way of trying to give back to the youth.
Yeah, you definitely have a knack for it. You have this voice too. Like it's like I've known you for a while, but I hear your voice on the field, and it's your other hat. It's your announcer voice, and it's really cool. It's really cool to listen to both you and Mr. Birchfield. Um, Back to being a coach, what do you remember? Because you coached your kids, and I've coached my son for since he was 3 years old in martial arts,
Uh-oh.
and sometimes the coaching your child is difficult, right? What were some of the things? I mean, and everybody gives me a hard time because they're like, you got to go a little bit easier on Mace. I'm like, I'm already easy on him, but everybody else sees it kind of different. What did you face as a coach with your kids on the team, and what were some of the best, not just memories, but maybe the best lessons for you as a coach and as a dad?
It's funny, and I giggled because Jack got to the point where, a couple of years into football, he wouldn't listen to me when I was giving him, pointers on. I was a line coach, so I'm coaching all the linemen, the offensive, the defensive linemen, special team linemen, and he was on defense, and he was a receiver at times, and he didn't want to listen to anything I was telling him. So instead of banging on him or yelling at him or this and that, um, I started going to the other coaches and saying, "You need to," because he would listen to the other coach, whatever he would listen to his defensive coach, it, and so I started going to him and saying, "Hey, you need to correct this with Jack. Just watch for it and correct it, because he won't listen to me." And of course, then the other coach said it, and there was times when I would say it, and it was like, psh, but when the other coach said it, oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, those were some of the difficulties, and some of the difficulties of being a dad slash coach are, again, everything was tied to sports in our household, and you had to keep your grades up if you wanted to play sports. And I'll give you, for instance, hardest thing in the world I ever had to do as a coach and a dad was Jimmy. He was playing Moorpark Little League baseball, and that team had just gone into the playoffs, and his grades fell below the limit in our household, and I ended up having to pull him off the team. We went and talked to the coach, and I said, "Look, I hate to do this, but I have to pull him from the team. His grades aren't satisfactory." That team went to regionals that year, and you know he was mad at me. He was mad at me for a lot of years, and he ultimately said, "That's it, I'm done playing sports." It's kind of a, I think it was a, I'll get back at him for pulling me off the team. And so um, that at that point, he didn't play sports for a couple of years until football came along at the high school. And he came to us during the summertime and said, "Hey, I want to play freshman ball at the high school." I'm like, "What? Okay, no problem." because his best friend was playing. And then so he started playing. And as you know now, he went on to be a CIF referee, and he's pretty darn good at it, I think, anyway. I might be a little biased, but so lessons I've learned are, every child under your tutelage, and you know this, they all have a story. And sometimes you don't know any of that story. You don't know if maybe there's a special need. Maybe they're, and I don't consider it special needs, but maybe they're ADD or ADHD, and some of these other things, or they're on the spectrum of autism, whether it be Asperger's syndrome or some other things. And you never know, and you never know those families' backgrounds either. So the lesson that I learned from coaching is, you know, take everybody. Um, if they say there's an issue, there's an issue, or there's a problem, or if a kid's not making, practice all the time, you have to kind of accept that maybe there's some things going on in that household that are affecting the child in school, or affecting the play on the field. So I've learned to be, because as football coaches, sometimes football coaches can be very hard. And I've learned to be a lot more lenient. My job during a game was really to be on the sideline. Head coach is running the game. I'm motivating the kids, getting them excited, getting them ready to go on the field, because in youth football, everybody has to play a minimum of 12 plays. So I kept track of that and would have kids ready. And, if I had to go tell the coach, hey, this kid's got to get in the game. We got to get him in. So we were coordinating all that stuff on the sidelines, but I was really good at getting the kids excited, getting the kids motivated, getting them watching the game so they were in tune with the game. And when they went in, they were excited to play.
For sure. Yeah. No, I know what it's like too to be on the sidelines, and watch for those kids and look for those kids. And having taught martial arts for over 30 years, you're 100% right that everybody has a story. And Bill Cormany, who's watching, says adults too.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. I mean, here we are. I mean, we're talking about your story. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a background that plays a role in the decisions we make, and in our successes, our failures. So it's important to get to know the people. And it's one of the things that I love most about our school is that we all get to know each other pretty darn intimately. Which makes us, in a way, more successful, because we know when someone's having a bad day, or we know when someone's having a hard time going through, medical or psychological issues. And we're going to start talking about the big topic that I wanted to cover, and why I feel that you're such a motivator is this weight loss journey that you're on, right?
Hmm.
So, and real quick, Debbie wanted to give you props. She said you were known as a coach who included the cheerleaders. You were loved for that. You are always calling it out for everybody to cheer for the cheerleaders. I always think that's kind of cool.
Well, they're out there working hard too. They have their own practice during the week. I
Right.
mean, and unfortunately, sometimes they get slighted a little bit. And I always wanted them included. So did our head coach, Scott Reinhardt. I mean, it took a little nudging, but when we were going to games, the cheerleaders, the football players, everybody would meet down at Royal Vista, and we would carpool together. We became a unit, and we included those cheerleaders. So, yeah. And, at the high school, I'm always, telling the crowd to give them an applause after when I can anyway, after a cheer routine. And they like it. I've gotten a lot of really nice notes from cheerleaders off the cuff that just came up to the press box, thanking me for including them.
Right, right. No, really important. So let's talk about this weight loss journey. This obviously isn't something new, right? I believe when you were going through your injury, back with UPS. I mean, I've seen pictures. You were in pretty damn good shape, and then the injury, I believe, is what kind of started that slide. And I mean,
Yep.
here we are, dare I say 30 plus years of kind of a up and down journey.
Yeah, I left UPS in 2000, 2001. And so, yeah, that started a slide. And then Um, I gained weight, gained a few pant sizes, and then I was able to maintain for a while. And fast forward to COVID, and I took that first cycle off. Everybody else was, most people, a lot of people were training at at the karate studio by Zoom, and I was having trouble training by Zoom. So I ended up taking that first 3 months, March through May, off, and I gained another 20 pounds. I went up to 360. And at that point, I just took a look at the calendar basically, and, you know, talked to Debbie and everything. I'm like, man, I, I'm 15 months away from testing for my black belt, and I cannot do this at 360 or 340 or 320, because I already know the last 6 months of black belt includes pre-tests, and a lot of I like when I tell people who kind of don't know about it, I say, look, you remember Hell Week in football during the summertime? Well, the last 6 months of getting your black belt is kind of the martial arts version of Hell Week.
Hmm.
There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of pre-tests, and so I just put my mind to it and said, I got to change. I've done it before. I've eaten clean before, and
Sorry, Dana, I'm losing you just for a
that
second here.
epiphany of I'm 15 months away from my, so that epiphany was, I got to make a change, and I need to start right now. That was July of last year. So I started eating cleaner. Debbie supports me in everything, and so she got rid of a bunch of crap in the house and just really started eating. And then a month later is when you and I talked, when you came to me and said, I know what you're doing, and I want to help you. So that started our private lessons, August 17th, but who's counting? And and that private lesson every week to work on my cardio, my gosh, what a difference it's made in my life, in my weight loss. I started at 360, and as of Sunday morning, I'm 281. So 10 months, 79 pounds.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I've shared this story with you, and I'll share it here live with everybody. We had a student. His name was Mike Stopel. Many of my students that are watching now know and see his picture here in our school. He was in a similar position maybe about 10 years ago, or even longer. And he was getting ready to test for black belt, and I said, dude, you're not gonna make it at this weight. You're going to hurt yourself. And I said, and not to mention that, but you have a daughter who I want you to be able to see her get married and grow up. And I took him in and started doing some private lessons with him as well. I used to have this guy carry cinder blocks around the studio for laps and laps and laps, and I would put him through the most intense workouts. Um, but unfortunately, his weight still got the best of him. He ended up passing away of a heart attack, and it just when I saw you struggling, it made me relive all of that again, and that was really hard for me to see someone struggle when you don't necessarily need to, right? I mean, there's something that could be done, and so I saw it as an opportunity to once again reach out and work with you, and we've been having some fun too. I mean, I kick your ass, I work you hard, but we have some fun, we have some laughs, we tell some stories, and that's kind of what's led us to be here. um, Go back as a younger child. Did you ever have weight issues as a younger child, or did you ever have anything in your early teens, 20s?
When I was 12 years old, I was almost 6 foot tall, a buck 20, buck 25. When I got to junior high school, I was a buck 35 and 6 foot tall. Um, when when I was in high school, I was maybe a buck 65, 6 foot tall. I was a beanpole. And thank you, Becky and Joey. And so I've never had weight issues. My weight, I started gaining weight. I was always a beanpole, and I started gaining weight when I started drinking alcohol. And so that was the beginning of filling out. It's a nice
Hmm.
way to put it, but I gained weight drinking alcohol, and I was eating, and at the same time, I was totally into football, and we would be at my neighbor's house, and we'd be drinking, and we'd be eating all the snacks that are made and stuff, and I mean, there was no control over that. I just ate, and I gained weight. I went from, I remember when I got over 200, and then I was a little disappointed with myself when I went over 300, and it's been a long, long time since I've been under 300. Debbie and I look at pictures from racing and times, back to 2001 ish when I left UPS. I was 225, and that was a good weight for me. That was really, I mean, I wasn't super thin in the stomach, but I have broad shoulders. I have thick thighs from all the bicycle riding, and I mean, when I was working at UPS, I used to go home to my when I lived at my mom's house. I would go home after busting my butt all day long, and I would jump on my road bike and I would ride 27 miles every single night, and then um, once on the weekend, one day on the weekend, whichever worked out. A gentleman from Moorpark here, Steve Preciado, I knew him from plumbing. Him and I were both into the bike scene, and so one day a weekend we would ride 60 to 75 miles, depending on what day worked for our schedule. So riding bicycles went on into my adult life as well, and so yeah, I went to 360 during that first COVID thing, and that's when I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and went, "Got to change, man, or you're not going to be here. You're not going to be here for all
Right.
of the things that are coming."
Now, have you attempted to lose weight prior to this, to this past year? Were there other times where you started and maybe you lost your motivation, or you started and then the discipline just kind of changed? I mean, because when it comes right to it, working out and eating healthy are about like the most simple ways that we can talk about losing weight. I mean, if you're eating like crap and you're not exercising, you're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
Even if you are eating like crap and you're working out like a madman, you're still not going to maintain very well. So it's got to be a real good combination of, eating well. And I'm speaking from experience because I've had this yo-yo of in my physical fitness journey. I've been in martial arts 30 years. I remember a newspaper article. I was thinking about this last night. I remember a newspaper article, and I was interviewed, and one of the questions made me answer with, "I don't want to end up being a fat, out of shape karate instructor." And I found myself right in my 30s being that fat karate instructor, which kind of sucked. And so, I got into Spartan racing. I found something that, got me wanting to work out, wanting to eat healthier, seeing results, because once you start seeing results, that just motivates you more. Then you start tweaking things and fine tuning it even more. So, in the last 20 years, how many times do you think that you've tried to lose weight and failed, or tried and just given up?
Uh, 3 or 4 times probably. I mean, nothing was ever. A friend of mine has always said, and it's true. When you get your head in the right spot, your butt will follow. I never had my head in the right spot. I never wanted it so bad. I was just kind of going through the motions. And then, of course, the discipline would go away and there would be a birthday party, some reason to, oh, I'm going to indulge. And then I never got super serious about it. I didn't. I never had my head in the right spot. And I always wanted to, but I got my head in the right spot last July, and my butt's following.
And now that you're on this journey, because we still got a long ways to go and we still got a
Yeah.
lot of work ahead of us. Do you ever feel discouraged? Do you ever feel like, screw it, like I'm just gonna, I'll have a drink, or I'll have a dessert, or I'll have this, I'll have that. It's only once, right? And nobody will know. I mean, you still have those temptations.
I don't know if it's like that. I mean, the drink, no. I don't care to have any alcohol. I really don't need it. Because I have to drink more to feel good. I mean, one drink, I'll feel good for 20 minutes and then it's kind of gone. So you have to drink more if you want to continue to feel good. Well, right now I feel really good and I don't need alcohol to
Right.
make me feel good. So the drink, no. Eating, listen, I'm not going to lie. I ate, off of my routine in Thanksgiving, and that was the first time that I really veered off of the path, off of my eating schedule. And, but I didn't go overboard. And then, I like to say, and I've told you sometimes, yeah, I went off the rails or I ate my way through a day. But nowadays, it's, for the first probably close to 6 months, I was super strict and I just didn't eat anything that I didn't eat chips. I didn't eat, all the stuff that I cut out. I ate clean. And after 6 months and losing 40 or 50 pounds, then, I I've loosened up a little bit. We went out for my birthday dinner last week and I had sushi and I had sushi with rice. I ordered a couple of rolls with no rice, but I did have a roll with rice and my sushi had rice. So I I know now whatever I eat, whatever I put into my mouth, I know what I have to do to get it off or burn it out or whatever. And I know how much I can eat to maintain my weight. So you ask, have I ever gotten discouraged? I've never gotten so super discouraged that I went to the refrigerator or the cabinet or something and pulled something out. But I've had times, they call them those plateaus, right? Everybody who's gone through weight loss journeys hit a plateau. And I've had a couple of times where I hit a plateau and I struggled to keep losing weight and I knew I was sweating. I mean, I'm sweating hard. I'm working, and you know how many classes I come take at the studio, and then you kick my
Mhm.
butt once a week, every week. And I wasn't dropping weight like I was. And I realized that, sometimes these plateaus happen. And a couple of times, like when we had my mom's memorial, um, I was on one of those plateaus. We were in Northern California. We went out and I had a really good steak. I didn't have all kinds of crap with it. I had steamed vegetables, but it was a big steak. It was like a 16-ounce ribeye, bone in ribeye. And I ate that thing. And that was like the catalyst that kicked my body into gear.
Mhm.
And the next week, I lost like 7 pounds that week. So I've hit the plateaus. I've actually not lost near as much weight as I was losing since the holidays, since the December. I've probably only lost 15 pounds where I was really losing 8, 9 pounds, 12 pounds a month. And it's slowed down a little bit, but also there's been a few times like right now where I've I've had a little bit of an injury going on and I wasn't in class. Although this week, this last week and a half, I haven't been in class because I'm nursing a little bit of an injury, and I've still been able to. I've been eating a lot of salad. I've been trying to really eat really super good and not load in as much protein that I have been loading when I'm burning, all those calories by doing two martial arts classes Monday through Thursday, and you kicking my butt on another class in the middle of the week, and maybe if I'm in town Friday, Saturday, taking more classes. So yeah, discouraged not to the point where I'm going to go to the refrigerator and grab ice cream or something like that.
Right.
And when I say I went off the rails or I ate my way through a Sunday, I'm actually eating good food. I'm just
Yeah.
eating more of it than I really need to. My mouth wants to move, and I'm chomping away at, carrots or celery with peanut butter or something like that. Unlike in the past where it might be a bag of potato chips, and
Right.
I used to order a sandwich for lunch here at work and have a soda with it, a sugar soda.
Right. 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 Well, and it's about making those substitutions, right? It's one of the things that I've learned has I still like to eat and I kind of like to eat a lot, but I'm eating a lot of better food. Like, I mean, I'll just have a big salad or I'll have, a little more fruit, but I'm not, diving into the bag of pretzels or chips like you said. So, it's a substitution. I mean, even things like potatoes. I mean, I love potatoes, but I've been able to substitute cauliflower, and it just tricks my brain into thinking it's like the potatoes. But here's another question, because I get this a lot, and I know how determined you are. Um, do you deal with people that think you're a little bit obsessed and a little bit over the top with the weight loss journey, to where it's like, dude, that's all you focus on, that's all you talk about, that's all, you know what I mean? Like, do you deal with people that talk to you like that?
No, I haven't really run across anybody who, to my face anyway, has um, been, derogatory in that way. What I've actually found, I've had a few people who, maybe family members that are like outside, you know, um, when they ask what you're doing, and I tell them, how many classes I go to, anywhere from 7 to 11 or 12 martial arts classes a week on a normal week. What? You're kidding me. You need to slow down. You're not a young chicken. Well, in my head, I'm 35,
That's
My body's the
right.
one that tells me that, no, you just turned 62, you dummy. But I haven't run across like too many people to my face that have been derogatory. What I have run across is a whole lot of support. Um, Dang it. I knew this was going to happen. All the adults at the karate studio have been so supportive, and I really appreciate it.
Well, they all look up to you a lot. I've said it a few times that you're a leader in the school, just based on so many different things. And Mr. Cox is watching right now too, and he said, in his words, "Kick ass every day and repeat. Let your why be higher than your want." And that's what we remember, right? And you do have a ton of support, and I know that most of us have these people that are there to support us, but I do feel like there are, and I don't want to call them haters, but it's like, people just don't understand. When you get focused on a goal, when you get focused on something that you want to do, like, I'm here. This is all I want to do, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And I think that you're sticking with that. I mean, you made this goal back in July, and you keep posting your hashtag about black belt test. I think that's something that's really commendable. I think that there are some people that don't recognize or don't understand that they're settling for mediocrity, and they're just okay with that. And when you're in this groove, you can't. It just doesn't help you to achieve your success. And Brent says game recognizes game. That's why you're on today. 100%. Daniel Groff, see everybody's showing love right now. Dane, keep up the focus and dedication. Daniel's another one too, where he's been busting ass, getting in Krav, a little later in life than most. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy. I thought it was hard getting into Krav at 40 something, and here you are. I'll just say 60 something, right? Uh, and you're doing Krav and you're doing karate, and I mean, I think it's commendable. I think that you should be proud of yourself, and it's inspiring to other people, because other people don't really recognize when they are settling for less, and they go, maybe I could, maybe I could do it a little bit. um
I've had a few people. Bill, he's funny. I know I took his title away as the oldest active training student, when I came in and started training karate, but sorry, Bill. But him and I have really become good friends during this whole thing, this journey, and watching him. I used to sit back with a white or yellow belt in the back row, and seeing Bill with a green, red, up on the front row, thinking, man, this guy's really, because he's there all the time, he's really pushing and doing it.
hmm
And that gave me inspiration. And I've had a lot of people, just recently I went back out to the desert and started racing my motorcycle again after 10 or 11 years of not racing. And literally the first time out in the desert, I had one of the women that I've known all along. Yeah, black belt team together. My karate wife, Becky. Um, The grandkids kind of nicknamed her that, her and Debbie, my karate wife. But I had a woman come up to me at the campfire on Saturday night, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how much weight you've lost. You look fantastic." And so she asked me, and we talk about it, and she says, "Man, you've inspired me. I'm going home and I'm going to do something." And I haven't checked in with her since, but I've had multiple people tell me that I've inspired them, which to me is like, whoa, I didn't set out on this journey to inspire anybody else. I set out on this journey to inspire the mirror, to look at myself and inspire myself. And um, people tell me that I motivate them and inspire them. And I, I don't see myself as a motivator or an inspirer unless I'm that youth coach on the football field. Yeah, absolutely, I'm going to motivate, but I will take it. Anybody who's inspired by what I've done, get in touch with me and we'll talk more about it. And maybe I can help get you more inspired than you already are if I inspired you.
Yeah. No, I think the saying iron sharpens iron. Being around people. Mr. Cox has commented again. The people that we surround ourselves with. We continue to motivate each other, and whether it's a hater, someone that's just not on board, right? Like, it's cool. Like, I can have friends that don't really do what I do, and don't push as hard as I do, and it doesn't really make me think less of them. I just spend less time with them because I need to make sure that, like you said, I want to be able to look in the mirror and be proud of myself. You know what I mean? And this is kind of what I was talking about, because I can totally understand what Debbie's saying here. It's a bummer sometimes, but I prefer you to be alive than her be home alone. I can tell you, in this last since December 1st, when I started 75 hard, it's hard on the family around you. Like, my wife sometimes is super frustrated because I'm like, oh crap, I got to go do a walk. I got to go do a second workout. I got more water to do. Sometimes it's inconvenient. That's for sure. And it does affect everybody else, moods and otherwise, because there's times where I'm fasting where my mood will so affect everybody around me because I haven't eaten yet. Right. So, yeah, see, I knew she was watching. I knew she was going to come in and have a little comment. But it's true. But it's true. So I do appreciate it. Just so you know, Jackie and Debbie, I know how much Dane appreciates you. No matter how much of a pain in the ass it is. But we just keep doing what we do. And Dane, you're doing an awesome job. You do have a lot of support. We've got a great team backing you, and just as much as you are getting out of it from them, they are getting back from you. And that's what makes the cycle so good and so strong, is that when you get down, you got people to lift you up. When they get down, you're there to lift them up. And I think that's what it's all about. And that's what master motivation is. Like, I just want this video that anybody that's ever has struggled with weight, like, watch this video a little bit, learn more about Dane, learn about the struggles. It's not easy. We know that. And just reach out to those people that can help strengthen you and help support you. And we'll just keep moving forward. I'm looking forward to having you on the mat. Well, maybe tonight or definitely Wednesday. We're gonna get back to it, right? Did I lose you? Well, I'll throw this up there.
There I
Dane is
am.
great. There you are. You're back. And yeah, Jackie says Dane is great at lifting up others. Yeah, I was just starting to kind of close things out. Dane, real quick, I want you to take 30 seconds and just speak from your heart, and talk about what continues to motivate you, what your vision is for this next year coming up. Anybody that's watching, what's your advice to them?
First of all, I haven't mentioned, and you mentioned that how much support I get from my wife, Debbie. And without her, I couldn't even do this. So that's where all of the focus and she keeps me on track. Um, she's the engine behind the train, and without that, I couldn't do it. For anybody who is having a struggle, especially with weight. I said this earlier. You have to get your head into it. You have to get your head right. You have to want it. And if you don't want it, it's not going to happen. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's going towards a black belt or losing weight or anything. If you don't get your head in the right spot, it's not going to happen. You have to get your head in the right spot. And once you get your head in the right spot, your rear end will follow. If anybody wants any help or needs any help or just wants to talk about my journey of 79 pounds in the last 10 months, whatever it's been, and I have 60 more to go or 40 more to go for sure. And so get your head in the right spot and then surround yourself with people that are going to be on board with that program. And if if there's somebody who's not on board with that program, you need to lose them. They need to go by the wayside. If it's a good friend, then maybe you just don't see them as much. But you have to have support. And one of the things that I have is a ton of support through my friends, my family, my wife. And I would like to think they know that I'm always there to support them in anything they need. And that's what I love about our karate family at the school. We all support each other and we all know when somebody's not having a good day. We know how to make it better. We can talk to each other and we know just how to bring each other up. And I love that.
Well, you summed it up very, it's just straight to the point. If you don't get your head right, if your head's not in the right spot, you ain't getting it done. So what how do you get your head right though? Like what did you do? Was there a final straw? Like what's your why?
You know, I looked at myself in the mirror all the time, every morning. And I didn't like what I saw. But one morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm blowing out of a size 48 pant. I really need to buy size 50 pants. And that was my why. Why am I like this? I can do something about this. I don't need to spend money on pants. I need to lose some weight and maybe spend money on smaller pants or go back into what I I going to be testing for a black belt, but I can't do this. I'm killing my body. UPS killed my body for one. And then I'm beating myself up trying to keep up with all these younger kids and these younger adults that are in karate class. I can't do this. But who's going to change it? I'm the
That's
only
it.
person that can change it. Debbie can't change it for me. You can't change it for me. I have to change it. So that was my epiphany. And I dedicated myself to eating cleaner, losing weight, and doing, more exercise, more than I was doing. I was coming to class 2, 3 times a week, whatever, 4 times a week. I was still taking Krav Maga. I think when I started this, I was just doing it for the extra workout. But if you don't have your head in the right spot, nothing will ever happen. You might do it for a month or 2 months or 3 months. Every turn of the new year, people make a resolution. I'm going to lose weight, and it lasts for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. But their head's not in the right spot. Otherwise, it would continue lasting. So you have to find the flaw in yourself, looking in the mirror to say, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. I didn't like my stomach. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the pants, the clothes I was wearing. I was wearing shirts that Debbie calls dresses, and I was filling them out.
Mm.
And I didn't like that. So I knew when I looked at myself in the mirror this one day, it's got to change.
What it comes down to is you owned it, right? Ownership. I read extreme ownership, and to me, that's the change. When you start owning it and you say, I can make the difference, I can make this change. You don't need anybody else. The support is great, but sometimes the support lasts for a little bit and it goes away, right? It's you owning it and saying, I can make a difference, I can make the change that got your head right. And I think that's what I was digging for, is for
Yep.
you to say I owned it. It's mine. And hey, real quick, let's let Mr. Cox make his comment. You have the mindset of these young Thundercats who are going to put under. Nothing feels better at 60 and tap. Yeah, I know. Mr. Cox loves tapping us all the time. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, well,
Thank you,
listen,
Master
Dane.
Cox.
I can't wait till you get to grapple with him. That'll be a fun time for you. Um,
Oh, I lost you. You can't wait till what?
oh, I said I can't wait till you get to grapple with Mr. Cox.
Oh, oh
I,
man,
I can I can almost predict what's going to happen on your black belt test. Just saying up front.
oh, come
I'm sure.
on. I grappled with you for 30 minutes and I was freaking so dead I couldn't barely walk out of the studio.
It's all good. Hey, roll with old dogs. Hey, listen, yeah, we're at our hour mark, and I got to wrap up. But I just want to thank you for being on the show, Dane. Thank you for sharing. What I really appreciate about you the most is sharing your wisdom. I mean, you're not a young guy, and that's okay, because I need people like you that have so much more experience in life to sometimes see things through your eyes when we're talking, and give me, whether you intend to or not, give me your advice and your feedback. And I definitely appreciate wisdom. It's something that I have grown to appreciate more and more, because I haven't had the experiences yet that you've had, but because of you, I will now have these lessons that I will be able to pass on to others. So thank you so much. Thanks for being an awesome student, cool guy to have around the studio. Everybody loves you here, and I see you doing this for a really long time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Master Flame. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we're just about out, guys. And Mr. Cox, we love you too.
Love you,
We'll
Mr.
see.
Cox.
We'll
Master
see you
Cox.
guys next week, Monday. Let's see. So next week we got some brand new guests coming up. I also have a special edition of Master Motivation next week on the 21st. I got Mr. Chris Casamassa coming on. And for those of you that don't know him, he was the stunt. He did the stunts for Batman. He did Batman Forever, and then he was also Scorpion in Mortal Kombat. And most of you know who Scorpion in Mortal Kombat is. So who else we got coming up? We have Karen Eden coming up, Chris Casamassa, Dave Kovar, Jose Escobar, and one of my best friends, Danny Cleary, will be on our show. So I can't wait to share them with you guys. Have a great week. Go out, make a difference. Look in that mirror, get your head right, take ownership, and make things happen. All right, that's Master Motivation for the day. We'll see y'all next week.